Out of all the Marvel characters that have been adapted into film, my favorite is Spider-Man. I mean, who hasn't heard of him? The badass suit, the powers, the continuing moral of being responsible with them. Oh wait, that's not Spider-Man, that's Miles Morales. Let's do this again. Out of all the Marvel characters that have been adapted into film, my favorite is Spider-Man. I mean, who hasn't heard of him? The badass suit, the powers. Guys, that's Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, not the Spider-Man. Do you have the right images and footage now? Okay. Out of all the Marvel characters that have been adapted into film, okay, now you're just fucking with me! Oh, right. Despite being part of the same Marvel brand and the X-Men film series produced by Fox, the Deadpool films were a breath of fresh air from the shared universe films at the time. The first one may have a basic origin story, but how they went about it with a lower budget was what made it a roll-licking good time. The self-aware humor, the fourth wall breaking, and the blood and gore with some outrageous deaths. Ryan Reynolds gives maximum effort to the title role. He embodies the character. Deadpool may have been done dirty before in his film debut, X-Men Origins Wolverine, but it goes to show that second chances can work out. This film proved that there was still a market for R-rated superhero films. Logan and Deadpool 2 followed suit in the years after it, and they both turned out very well. Logan especially for how it transcends the superhero genre with its gritty, depressing world setting, its tribute to westerns, and it perfectly capped off the X-Men series. No! I know what I said. It was also a great send-off to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and Sir Patrick Stewart as Professor X. Or so we thought. After Disney bought Fox for $71.3 billion in 2020, the future of Deadpool 3 seemed bleak. How would a film like that work under modern Disney's puritanical banner? We saw how a PG-13 version of Deadpool 2 would look like, so it probably would have been something like that. But on that fateful day on September 22nd, 2022, Ryan Reynolds gave us both an update and a promo for the third Deadpool film, and it will be set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Not only that, he gave us this.
Hey Hugh, you want to play Wolverine one more time?
Yeah, sure, Ryan.
Some people were hyped, while most fans like myself were skeptical of the idea. And I get it, this was following up from this part in Deadpool 2 where he's cleaning up the timelines, including killing this abomination they called Deadpool.
Look, eventually, you're gonna hang up the claws, and it's gonna make a lot of people very sad.
Huh?
But one day, your old pal Wade's gonna ask you to get back in the saddle again. And when he does, say yes.
Oh, right.
The following day, they did a part 2 of the update, and how they are not touching anything before Logan. Okay, that's kind of a relief, but how are they gonna do it? Especially when it's going to be an MCU film. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, everyone has said this so many times it has become a meme at this point, but it's true. The MCU has been on the decline post-Endgame. It has gone so overbloated with content from movies and Disney Plus shows to the point of apathy. I just never bothered with a lot of it. Whatever I ended up seeing was from a friend of mine sharing his Disney Plus with me. Don't worry, he unsubbed. For the theaters, either a showing was free out of circumstance or seen out of very rare interest like Spider-Man No Way Home and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Outside of those, the rest of the film sucked. Yes, a lot of them suck major ass. Black Widow was stupidly written along with arriving way too little, way too late. Despite Sam Raimi showing his crazy directing style when he needed to in the Doctor Strange sequel, the writing went out of its way to make the title character look like a fool in his own movie. The story was a complete mess, like I was watching a What If episode, and it had no idea what it wanted to be. Even the writer, Michael Waldron, admitted as such.
Yeah, that's definitely a case of me just not knowing what to do with the script.
His words, not mine. Thor: Love and Blunder was a big joke that went on for far too long. Oh god, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is the biggest nothing burger of a film I ever experienced. No, that's not fucking hyperbole. The only good things that came out of it were the beginning and ending where they paid tribute to the late Chadwick Boseman. The majority of it was insomnia-curing filler. Literally, it put me to sleep with its padding, pandering bullshit. I don't care about Ironheart, I don't care about the race war between Wakanda and— Oh wait, what happened? I slept through the majority of it. Oh, a supporting character drowned to death. Well then. You really could have cut a lot, made it into a Disney Plus short film, and found a way to work T'Challa in there. We saw his kid in the ending, why wasn't it about him? Aside from the obvious reasons, of course. The less said about the third Ant-Man and how drab and ugly it looks, the better. Ugh, get it off my screen! The other films, I just didn't bother with how they did their marketing material and articles. I know some people will say you can't judge the quality of something just by trailers and stuff alone, and while it is true to a degree, the point of marketing is to sell something to you. It's just business. Because if this is what you give us for marketing, like with Eternals and the Marvels, you're setting yourself up for a fall.
Fair and equal representation on film is incredibly important.
They're incredibly diverse, and the Eternals is just the diversity of this cast here. It's a diverse team.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with Jack Kirby and honoring the creation of the characters, and it just led us to look for a diverse cast who happened to be a diverse cast.
They're incredibly diverse, and the Eternals is just the diversity of this cast here, and bringing diversity to the forefront and the screen here. You are such a champion for diversity, and you're a woman of color as well, and making sure that there's representation.
This superhero team looks like the world.
Diversity.
It's amazing.
Well, for both of you too, you know, this film has such diversity, such inclusion.
Deadpool's marketing, on the other hand, is genius. His character is perfect for making original content, making fun of other ads, putting his own twist into certain things you may or may not know about. That's what pulls you into seeing those films. Okay, my post-Endgame MCU tangent is over. Back to the task at hand. As we got the first teaser, they dropped the numbering in the title and now called it Deadpool and Wolverine. Summing up the story will be a tad difficult with the multiverse plotline rearing its ugly head again. I'll do my best with light spoilers, but if you want to know what it's like and skip to the critiques after this, Ryan's got you covered.
We're very excited to be joining you July 26. Many of you are very excited, but we should set the table correctly. This film is as paper-thin as a sequel to Battlefield Earth. We're mostly going to beat each other senseless, make enemies with Disney, tell a few dick jokes, make a few jokes at my expense, make a lot of jokes at Hugh's expense, and completely sidestep Marvel's mandated after-credit sequence, which, if you haven't figured it out yet, is always just a commercial for another movie, which will invariably end with a commercial for another movie. So sit back, relax, let us lower your IQ and raise your heart rate while we travel to a vapid dreamland, a place where grown men and grown women walk around in tights and act like it's not a giant cultural cry for help. This is cinema.
So it starts with one of the most over-the-top openings to any superhero movie ever. Deadpool digs up Wolverine's grave from the end of Logan to find that maybe he's not dead after all because of his healing factor. But during that film, it was clearly obvious the adamantium infused with his entire skeleton is what was slowly killing him, as well as drinking too much alcohol to speed up the process. Then we get the Time Variance Authority, or TVA, from the Loki series trying to arrest him. Deadpool fights back using Logan's corpse and uses the claws himself. Yeah, next time I hear NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye, I'm going to think of this opening. While watching this for the first time, I was taken aback. But I did give some thought while it was playing, and yeah, Deadpool would do something like this. Then we get sent back before this point after the events of Deadpool 2, after he cleans up the X-Men timelines and he tries applying for the Avengers at Earth 616, the sacred timeline as it's called, but he gets turned down. Well, we got another MCU movie that basically messes up the dimension designation. For the majority of this film series, it was known as Earth 1999-99. Why is it that Across the Spider-Verse got this right?
Don't even get me started on Doctor Strange and the little nerd back on Earth 1999-99.
If this was Earth 616, all of these characters from these different franchises adapted into film over the years would all coexist in the same dimension. Over the years, it seemed it wouldn't. Nobody ever thought of a shared universe at the time. The early Marvel films, despite how messy most of them are, stood on their own. But Disney Marvel found a way to bring them in, and the rules they established make no goddamn sense. Hell, if this was Earth 616, Nick Fury would have been played by David Hasselhoff, not Samuel L. Jackson to look like his debut in the comics. Miles Morales would have been in his own dimension, Earth 1610, the Ultimate Universe, taking on the Spider-Man mantle after his Peter Parker died. After all, there can't be two Spider-Man at once, right? But then modern Marvel Comics made the boneheaded decision to rewrite him into Earth 616 through some other complicated multiversal shit where it gets destroyed and then rebuilt again. You can't confuse people like that. Am I missing something with this? I don't want to look at other supplementary material to find out. I want to look at this movie on its own. I understand the concept of it being an adaptation to the original source material, but what made the MCU stand out was how it took stuff from the original and Ultimate universes to be its own thing. But now when your franchise is rewritten to be Earth 616, not Earth 1999-99, it should have nailed every character in that universe to a T from the start. I also understand taking liberties, but if you're going to change something, have it make sense. You can't just change what you want whenever you want and expect us to go along with it. So I guess to end this tangent, I'm going to sum it up like this. Once you get into subdimensions and shit, it gets complicated. By the way, watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. Great movie. That film handles the multiverse concept well. The rules for it actually make sense, and it handles existential themes perfectly. Whereas say if you put everything into a bagel, what else is left to add? What's the point? Does it matter anymore? It's sort of like what modern Marvel writers are doing right now, except it's garbage. Again, it's gotten so bloated to the point of apathy. Moving on. Back at his home dimension, Earth 10,005, his relationship with Vanessa gets testy and they break up. With nothing left to do as Deadpool, Wade applies for a job selling cars with Peter. Not Peter Parker, Peter Wisdom from Deadpool 2. One night, his friends throw him a surprise birthday party and he and Vanessa still get along fine. As he blows the candle on his cake, he might have got his wish granted after all, as the TVA come into his apartment and capture him. He meets with a guy named Paradox and gives him a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take his place in the sacred timeline. He accepts and dons a new suit, but learns from Paradox that he won't be coming back to tell his friends as his dimension is slowly dying due to losing its anchor being, the Wolverine from Logan. Even though that film took place in 2029, why take Deadpool out of 2024 to tell him that his world is slowly dying because of that? And now you have anchor beings now? So if Deadpool's home dimension has an anchor being, what does that make the anchor being in the MCU? Tony Stark? Nick Fury? Steve Rogers? Thor? Peter Parker? Stephen Strange? Happy Hogan? Anyway, Paradox wishes to not wait for thousands of years to have it die down to natural causes, and decides to give Deadpool's home dimension a quick mercy killing with a machine he invented called the Time Ripper. Wade doesn't take the idea of losing his home and loved ones well, and he takes matters into his own hands. He steals a TVA tempad to travel to that point in time. We cut back to the events in the opening, and we get a sequence where he travels through different dimensions for a replacement Wolverine to be a new anchor being, including coming across a variant played by Henry Cavill. Soon enough, he finds a Wolverine that has failed his home dimension and takes him in. Paradox mocks this idea, especially since this Wolverine is considered the worst variant. Deadpool finds out that the upper management of the TVA don't know Paradox's branch is acting on their own, but before he can report this, he and Wolverine get sent to the Void, and this is where their adventure and camaraderie in the multiverse begins. And that's pretty much where I'm going to stop, as the rest of the film is very much what you expect to see. As you might have guessed already by my reactions to the film and the messy setup it had up to this point, this is narratively the weakest of the Deadpool films. And the fact that this movie had 5 writers, including Ryan Reynolds, and the director of the film Sean Levy of Real Steel fame, that says a lot. I can only imagine Ryan was the one fighting tooth and nail to retain everything that made Deadpool, even the R rating. I never would have imagined an MCU movie under Disney's distribution banner to be rated R, but there you go. Paradox and another character introduced, Cassandra Nova, Charles Xavier's twin sister, are pretty bland villains. They have no personal connection between the main characters to make them interesting, though you're pretty much fucked when Cassandra uses her advanced mind powers to get in your head or skin you alive. You introduce a character that is so OP like that, you wonder why doesn't she do the latter again. Anyway, like I said, the movie takes a while to get going. When things do go somewhere, you're treated to a bunch of references and appearances from characters from Marvel movies, especially ones in the pre-MCU era. That's something I do commend them for, even though it's just fan service. Without the X-Men movies from the 2000s up to Logan, without the likes of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, the Fantastic Four duology, Daredevil, Elektra, the Blade trilogy, the Punisher, Ghost Rider, and even Ang Lee's Hulk, we never would have had the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But enough of all that, how's the camaraderie between the title characters? Of course, Ryan Reynolds is always great as Deadpool, poking fun at everything that was in superhero movies before and even now, especially the MCU's decline. And of course, he brought up how they've done multiverse storylines, and it's just miss after miss after miss, with none of them connecting with each other. Again, watch this masterpiece. I'm happy to say that Hugh Jackman still pulls it off as Wolverine, even though he's playing a different variant of him. For their dialogue exchanges, you have a comical, talky character well balanced out with someone who tells things relatively straight, even brutally honest at one point. But his background on how he failed the X-Men in his universe is told to us rather than shown. Likely the only shown aspect is through Hugh's performance when he opens up. He starts off stubborn, but later decides to be a hero one more time. In the end, they gave fans what they came for. You see them fighting each other, you see them fight others in the void, and the last big moments in Deadpool's home dimension were well done. By the time Wolverine puts on the signature cowl over his head from the comics, I smiled ear to ear. The yellow Wolverine suit isn't complete without it. Having said all of that though, is this going to save the MCU? Is it going to change forever? Is Deadpool really Marvel Jesus as he self-proclaims in the film? Or is he a false prophet? No matter what people say about the film's quality, I say no. This movie isn't going to save the MCU. But it would be fun to see Deadpool having to work with the TVA on his own terms and delete everything that was considered a failure by fans. So if it were to happen, this shitty thing is gone, this shitty thing is gone, this shitty thing is gone, this shittier thing is gone, this boring thing is gone, this nauseatingly boring shit is gone, this shitty thing is gone, and even shitty She-Hulk is gone.
Aubergine, She-Hulk was like Deadpool. She broke the fourth wall and had self-aware humor too. How is Deadpool any different, you fucking sexist hypocrite? You broke my little wee-wee in half.
No! She was an insufferable bitch to his cousin who has gone through far worse in his past, and the majority of that show was full of cringy, unfunny feminist dialogue. Twerking with Megan Thee Stallion does not make her any better. Cope harder, normies, it won't bring the series back. Deadpool is just a lovable guy who likes to playfully fuck with people and calls out everything, even himself. He loves being a silly-ass chimichanga-loving, fourth-wall-breaking son of a bitch. Besides, it's going to be hard to top one of the most famous pop songs of all time, especially when you have an audience that remembers it from the start. So to conclude, Deadpool and Wolverine may be the weakest as far as narrative is concerned, but seeing two friends work together again and make an entertaining team-up happen, I cannot disrespect that. They knew what they had to do, and it's to give the passionate fans what they want, not what corporations and normies try to force them to want. That said, this is likely going to be another fluke, because what more do I have to look forward to? More poorly written goy slop like this? More malicious deconstruction like this? More boring, meandering messaging like this? If Marvel decides to let Deadpool follow through with being Marvel Jesus, erase their big missteps, and clean house at the studio, they might get their
Wait! I have another idea!
As proof of the unimaginable possibilities in the Marvel multi-universe, we give you the one person who could play Victor Von Doom.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next products.
Okay, alright, that's it, I'm done. This is so desperate. Okay, alright, I'm done here. Alright, no more Marvel, okay? My brain is just so scattered up from all of this. I got a lot of other things to cover and talk about besides just that, alright? I'm done. Bye. Suck it, Disney. I'm going to Universal. Get fucked!